You're about to face off against the final bosses. Today, we're going to be looking at the new Disney series show Outhouse, and we're going to be talking about whether that's going to be the next big show or not.
So, a lot of people have been wondering what cartoons they should be watching now. With the ending of Steven Universe, that being the biggest cartoon that was currently airing, people are clinging on what will be the next best cartoon. There's debate between whether it be Amphibia, the continuation of She-Ra, but the cartoon that I think out of all the current airing cartoons that shines the most is The Owl House, personally.
It's certainly one of my favorites from these.
I've watched actually every current airing cartoon at the moment, and none of them has actually been, to me, at the same level and quality as The Owl House. From a like anime fan and a cartoon fan standpoint, The Owl House is an isekai. So
Oh yeah, an Americanized version of Isekai. It even has a parody of it too in there.
like Lou is a human who is basically me in middle school. So I relate highly to her. She's a loser, kind of a weirdo who would rather make AMVs, write fan fiction, read books, and watch anime. Which is all things that I personally did in middle school that got me bullied. Instead of being a normal person and conforming to what would be considered the norms of her school and giving up something like at that age. And she ends up getting teleported to another world through almost a really random event. An owl magically comes and swoops up her favorite book that she threw in the trash can, and then suddenly she's transported just to this fantasy world that isn't exactly what we think of when we think of a fantasy world. It's more of a Lovecraftian world to me.
Yeah, and I do like how she isn't trapped there. She has the option to go home, but she actually really enjoys being there. She stays there because she wants to stay there, and because it fits her a little bit better than like the real world does.
Yeah, that's true. The name of the world is actually called the Boiling Isles. There's a lot of theory about the Boiling Isles, but we'll get to that in an actual theory video.
Right.
But there is a lot of theory about the Boiling Isles. The other
Skeleton Boyo.
Yeah. The other characters you end up meeting in the show early on is the lady who sent the owl to take the book was named Ida.
Mm-hmm.
And she's known as the Owlady. She's a witch with a high bounty on her head. And you meet her pet demon King, who claims at the beginning of the series that he is the king of all demons.
Yeah.
Setting up that demons exist in this world and that witches automatically exist in this world. And Ida did something horrible to make herself wanted. Her bounty is like 1 million,
Right.
whatever the currency is.
Funny enough, Ida actually reminds me of a more family-friendly Rick from Rick and Morty. She's got that kind of anti-establishment, high intelligence base that I would say someone like Rick does.
I think Ida is a parody of the usual isekai mentor character, where instead of being books in, study, gain power, and wisdom, Ida's more of your typical crazy rebel grandmother.
Yeah.
She comes off more like the witches from like Hocus Pocus than anything else.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, she's actually my favorite character. I love Ida a lot. And King is sort of your typical mascot character, but he is really cute and really well made.
He is one of the most adorable characters I've seen in a modern cartoon for a while.
Yeah, and I love his voice too.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, actually, just about the Owl House in general. The creator of the Owl House is the wife of the creator of Gravity Falls.
Oh, okay.
And King is actually voiced by the creator of Gravity Falls. Is a funny little like quip there because people made connections between the Owl House and Gravity Falls over the time that it's airing. But in the first episode, it sets itself apart in a really interesting way, giving you this sort of that the world can be prisoned, but it can be changed on a whim sort of vibe. With like the warden and the cops who arrest the people who are undesirable, they're considered weird.
Yeah.
Like the girl who wants to write fan fiction about food. I swear she's watched Food Wars probably. Or if you want to go more obscure, she's watched like Fighting Foodons maybe. But then there's the chick who's weirdly into conspiracies who gets arrested because she's weirdly into like conspiracies.
The triangle.
Yeah, the world's a triangle.
And she's a triangle.
Yeah. That's also something that people consider a Gravity Falls connection, actually. But with the show sets itself apart in the first episode, giving you this. It doesn't follow the standard quips of like, Luce is teleported to the world, but she's not the hero of the world.
Yeah.
And the person she meets is also not the savior of the world, not the
Mhm.
ideal of what you would consider to be the hero. In fact, Ida matches Luz in a way, because in Ida's world, she is undesirable.
Hmm.
She doesn't fit in, and she also doesn't think the Boiling Isles is that great of a place because of its rules and regulations.
Right.
Like Ida is a mirror to Luz in the series, trying to tell her that this world is not everything you think it's going to be.
Oh, I would completely agree with that.
Um, King sort of doesn't really play too much of a of a storyline so far.
He's a good foil for the characters. He does a good job at he has his own growth as a character, but in terms of like the main overall story, he's not quite as important.
But after the first episode, which you get some incredible animation scenes, um, where the warden, like you see, is without his mask, he's actually legitimately terrifying. He has
Mhm.
no eyes, he has no mouth. Turns out he wanted to date Ida. Then you get that crazy scene where they're being chased and all the prisoners are being let out, and it sets up just this really cool story from the start. Like from the first episode, I would say you'd probably be hooked.
I would think so. It's really high quality budget in terms of its animation, and also just the character designs are really unique and really interesting to look at. Like you said, kind of Lovecraftian.
Once we go over the episodes, a little bit more into detail. I will correct some of the problems that people have, and we can go over those too.
Okay, yeah.
With it defending the series, because there have been some issues.
Mhm.
Being that we're both cartoons and anime fans, we sort of see this a little bit differently than a lot of people because we know about the isekai genre.
Yeah, it feels right at home for me.
Yeah, like we've watched these kind of shows before,
Mm-hmm.
but to a cartoon viewer, some of them have taken it the wrong way. But we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. The next couple of episodes really start to build the world. Luce chooses to stay in the human world.
Mhm.
Ida can actually open the door at any point in time. Then they set up the story plot where there's sort of a Hogwarts style school for learning magic,
Yeah,
but for some odd reason, magic is something humans can't inherently do in the series.
something about having a sack of magic attached to your heart or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
like
like the people in the Boiling Isles evolved over the years to use magic, so they have these sacks that are attached to them that contain their mana, basically. And when they use up all the mana in the sack, they can't actually use magic anymore until it refills or until they rest.
Mhm.
Of course, Luz, the main character, doesn't have one, and all she wants to do is become a powerful sorceress like the girl in her book.
Right.
The second episode, it's either the second or the third episode, sets up a complete parody of what an isekai story
Pretty
would.
sure it is the second episode.
Where Luce gets tricked by a wizard to go on a magical journey, and she's the main hero of the story.
Mhm.
She gains a staff, and they make her think she has amazing powers.
You hit all these cliches.
All the isekai cliches, even the edgy love interest guy who's almost a parody of Sasuke from Naruto. Like
Yeah.
it is hilarious. And of course, Lou plays into the comedy of this by saying, "I love your tragic backstory. It's like something out of one of my fan fictions." Like it's as an anime fan and as a long term watcher of cartoons and anime, like you find jokes like that hilarious because it's like, oh, I relate to that. Like maybe I'm not the fangirl writing
Yeah.
the fan fictions, but I know people who have wrote the fan fictions, and I've seen the storylines before.
And they actually pull a little bit of that video game stuff that's normally in isekai, with the characters all giving Luce an item
Yeah.
after everything. Of course, those items turn around and end up trapping her. But,
Yeah.
but it
Because-
still plays into that.
And the second episode doesn't really have anything to do with the overall plot, but it is a fun episode to watch
Mhm.
because this show obviously knows it's an isekai, just an American variant, and so it makes sure to let you know that it knows what it is.
It also lets you know not to trust wizards.
Yeah. But it treads a dangerous line in that episode, but I think it knows that it's going to be sillier than most isekai, and it
Mhm.
accepts that. And that's actually what I love about the show the most. Then we're introduced to the school, and once you're introduced to the school, you learn a little bit about the government of the Boiling Isles, which is they have a way of keeping magic under control.
Mm-hmm.
Once you become a wizard, you have to join a guild. And once you join a guild, you can only use the type of magic from that guild. They put a special sigil on you that can never be removed, and your magic can't be varied anymore
Mm-hmm.
unless you work directly for the King's Royal Guard.
They hint at that in that that episode there where they first introduce the school, but you really get to see that later on when they go to the convention.
Yeah.
And you actually see people's powers being sealed, and they can only use illusion magic from that point on.
for example, or like cooking magic, or you know, anything along those lines. That sets up of how the government controls its people, because in the world of magic and monsters, which this world establishes very early on that it has magic and monsters, the ones who are outcasted are the ones who aren't in guilds, like the wizard and Ida, who use, you know, random magics and are obviously evil.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's illegal not to join a guild, but it's almost like you become a pariah if you don't.
If you graduate and you use magic, you have to be part of a guild.
Oh, okay.
They do state that.
Missed that then.
They state that in the series. That's actually one of the reasons Ida is so wanted.
Oh, okay.
Because she has all this power, but none of it's in check. Like, because Ida doesn't have a seal. She never joined a coven. Ida would be offered to join with her power, and they do kind of scale the characters pretty early on. With Ida's power, she would be strong enough to join the Covenant of the King's Royal Guard. There's even a character that states that in the convention episode, but she herself, being the rebel that she is, and she chooses not to. So Ida could join the Royal Guard and not have her magic suppressed and be wanted, but she doesn't want to have her magic constantly supervised. Either,
right.
Because she thinks that takes away the point of the whimsy of magic. That being said, you do learn a lot about Ida. Like, the entire first, I would say, series is more about Ida than Luce.
Yeah.
Explaining Ida's backstory more so than anything about the rest of the world. You learn that she has a sister who's also part of the Royal Guard.
That sister being Lilith.
Yeah, Lilith. Yeah. You learn that her sister actually, you would think her sister might be the villain, but her sister actually really loves Edith and wants to capture her for her own good, because you learn that Ida is cursed.
Her sister is more of the rule. Yeah, at least surface, she's more of the rule goody two shoe. But of course, we do see a little bit of a deeper side to her.
Yeah,
as well.
She's willing to break the rules for her sister if it means keeping her sister safe.
Yeah,
and that again is because Ida is cursed. She doesn't exactly know why she was cursed, or who did it. She has a shadowy figure memory at flashback of someone cursing her when they were just children, and when she runs out of this magical elixir, she turns into this giant owl monster. It's almost it's very reminiscent of the No-Face from Spirited Away when he's huge and he's eating all the food.
I was thinking of Jekyll and Hyde, but yeah, that's a good example
like
too.
The hallway chase scene when Luce and King first experience the beast actually makes me think of Spirited Away just from watching it.
Yeah,
and Luce being a normal human being chased by this horrible monster, you know, kind of did make me get that vibe from it. I mean, I don't know if that's what it's referencing to, but that is the first thing that came to my mind. But
yeah,
anime always comes to my mind first, so I don't
naturally.
think naturally. But Ida, of course, when she's in this mode, she apparently can't control herself. She can somewhat remember people and not kill them, but she tends to just devour anything, like is shown in that episode.
There's still a small piece of her, and I think in the first episode they had to use light to get her out of it. And then, of course, later on, it was King's adorableness that got her out of it. Yeah,
and the potions become less effective as she uses them. Like I said, Ida's the character you have the most story, because you also, Ida, like, pretty much, even though Luce is the main character, everything that you learn and see from Luce's perspective tends to tie back into Ida, like the episode where they learn about the pieces that go on the top of wands, the familiars, like the owl, and how Ida got hers.
Yeah.
Like you get even though Luce is the center of that story, it's about Ida's piece and then how it goes and how it all happened. The other really important thing to the series, I guess, would be the subplot of Lu's relationship with some of the kids in the Boiling Isles.
Yeah, I mean, she does make a couple friends real quick, that being Willow and Gus.
Yeah, that attend school. Willow specializes in plant magic, Gus specializes in illusion magic, and they already have their guilds or covens picked.
And Gus is the president of the Human Appreciation Club.
Yeah, the Human Appreciation. He loves human artifacts. I don't know if this is a joke that is meant to tie into another popular American series, but in the series where Gus has his first meeting of the Human Appreciation Club, he asked for a specific item. Do you happen to remember what the item was?
I actually don't know.
It was a bucket. And he repeatedly asked for a bucket. And this actually, I believe, is 100% a Homestuck reference.
Oh, no.
I won't go into details about what buckets are in Homestuck, but those of you who have watched Homestuck will definitely giggle when you hear that this man really wants to see a bucket because he thinks he knows what buckets are for.
Oh boy.
And given all these stories that they have about human artifacts, and Ida also makes a living selling human artifacts as he steals from the human world. That's how Luce got there, from her world. The other really, I guess, important character would probably be she's sort of the antagonist, but also sort of the friend of the series.
She's the rival.
Yeah, she is the rival for sure. I actually cannot think of her name.
Amnesty.
Amnesty, yes. Amity.
Oh,
yes.
almost there.
Amity, yeah. You learn a lot about Amity in the first couple of episodes that she's in. She's expected to be the best, and if she's not the best, it looks bad in her entire family. She wants to be, but her and Lou actually have stuff in common. Apparently, she has collected a book series from the human world that Luce really loves, and Luce gives her the final missing book to the series, the one that she was missing in the episode where they sort of became friends.
Yeah, I mean, she's like the popular girl that you know in school, but has those, and we don't ever meet her parents, but it feels like she has those strict parents that have, definite rules, and hey, you have to be this way, you have to do this.
We do meet her brother and sister, but they're the opposite. They don't care about anything.
They're troublemakers, through and through,
and they don't actually care about any pedigree that might be with the family or anything that she might represent. But I will say that what I like about Amity versus other sort of that typical angry, mean cartoon girl that you get, Amity's character development is a lot faster than most. So
Yeah,
she's
you
don't have to hate her as long.
Yeah, you don't have to wait a season or two to actually see she has a soft side.
They
do it pretty early on to let you know, hey, she's a normal. Yeah, she has a normal person. She has normal feelings and emotions as well.
Like Gravity Falls, it took about 2 to 3 seasons for Pacifica to be nicer, and you to realize she's not a bad person. And there are characters like Chloe from Miraculous Ladybug, who I still can't stand, who may or may not be a nice person. And it also doesn't seem like they're going to revert her back, because a lot of those Mean Girl characters, sometimes writers will devolve them back into the Mean Girl without any reason or progression. It seems like they're going to keep Amity progressed.
Yeah.
Like that she will continue to evolve and learn to like Lou. We do get some clues about the world, and I don't know if these were more I picked up on them because I watched the show more than once and the multiple episodes. There are some clues that humans may have lived on the Boiling Isles before, and that even the residents of the Boiling Isle, some of them may have once been humans. In the very first episode, there's a flyby joke that they had a whole bunch of different creatures, and they had to send giraffes to the human world because they were too weird and too out of hand. And it's like, oh, so that's where giraffes come from in this universe. What did giraffes do to get kicked out of this world?
Right. I want to know.
But also, you learn that Ida mentions that humans used to do magic some way here, but she has no idea how because she's not that old.
Yeah.
And you learn that humans do magic from Lou by drawing sigils.
Yeah, so the same sigils that are inside of the circles that the actual magical beings draw.
Yeah.
Lou can copy those drawings on pretty much anything.
Yeah, even
that
in the
she
air.
Can draw on. And she can create a spell. Right now, the only spell she knows is
to
light,
make the ball of light.
But she can still create at different sizes and as many as she wants. It doesn't seem like she has a mana pool to stop her from.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to have a limit because, there is an episode where she creates an absurd amount of the light balls. And also there are some things that seem to not affect Lou that affect other people in the Boiling Isles. The mana limit, the tired limit seems to be one of the main ones with her magic, but we also don't know when she's going to find any other sigils that she can draw yet.
Right. She got very lucky with just a freeze frame of the first one with the light spell.
Yes, with the light spell. She was able to see it with her phone,
which is now damaged.
It's now damaged, so she can't use that anymore. But the series will obviously progress Lou as a character too, and have her learn more too. But right now, it's focusing mainly on Ida. I think that throughout I think that the series will only grow from where it is now. I think right now the series is already phenomenally good and has made its imprint. But I think that as the episodes grow and we get more, I think that the series is going to just stay on this high and keep climbing. I don't see it dropping in quality.
No, as long as they keep going with the same world building, character building, character design that they have been for the last, 10, 12 episodes, whatever we're on now, that we will continue to have just a great TV show through the future.
And even the episodes that this show is aware of cartoon cliches
Mm-hmm.
and the anime cliches, and it does tread a dangerous line, because that's usually dangerous when the cartoon is aware of these stereotypes, because sometimes it can be really great and sometimes it can be annoying and detrimental,
Yeah.
like in some of the reboots, like with Powerpuff Girls and stuff. But the Owl House, like, even when they did the generic let's body swap because my life is harder than your life scenario, they actually put a very, very unique, unexpected twist on it.
Yeah.
So I think that even with the cartoon stereotypes in the episodes that don't focus on the fly, they don't feel like they drag it down. Because that was actually a thing about Steven Universe, Adventure Time, even, not Gravity Falls, but even Star vs. the Forces of Evil, which is a show that Owl House is heavily compared to.
Yeah.
It would seem like you would have to wait 8 to 10 episodes of what would feel like filler before you get a plot episode. And the fillers felt weighted to some people. Like, some people hated the episodes of Steven Universe that was about the townspeople.
Mm-hmm.
Some people loved them, but some people were just like, can we get back to the war and the space rocks? Adventure Time was a huge guilty party of this, where, like, a lot of fans loved the story of, like, the Lich and the Ice King and Marceline and all of that.
That's the first time I had ever heard that Adventure Time had a deep, complex story, was with that type of story there.
Yeah, but they're so far in between the mix of random episodes and episodes you don't feel like actually matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes difficult, like, to watch them. But even the filler, what would be considered non-plot episodes of the Owl House, still feel like they progress the characters in a way that matters.
I can't think of an episode that just doesn't progress either the characters or the story
or
in
the
some
world.
way.
Yeah. I don't think that there has been an episode in the Owl House that didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to address the controversial problem, I guess, because, like, so we're not calling out anything in particular or anyone, obviously.
Right.
People can feel their opinions on the show. Our opinion is that we think it's great and that it will be the next. We feel like it will be the next big cartoon to keep an eye on. But there are some people in the cartoon review community who aren't as familiar with anime as we are. So they feel like the Owl House is just recycling Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Steven Universe, and Gravity Falls, like supernatural, magical plot lines.
Right. They don't feel like it's doing anything new to stand out.
Yeah, and that's untrue. A lot of shows will take the same basis, and this is much more common in anime than it is in American cartoon, obviously. Mm-hmm. But what the basis of an isekai, what's the only one I think that you can really compare out of all the ones that people usually list the Owl House being compared to, would be Star vs. the Forces of Evil. And if anything, Star is a reverse isekai because she comes to the human world, and she has magical powers. But even it's nothing like the Owl House. The story is like completely different. Just because they both follow another world genre, a human character is in the story, and there's magic abound, and the human character has to sort of figure out the world, that does not make the story the same.
No, I feel like Owl House has its own unique style, its own unique blend, especially having a more Lovecraftian feel to it, that it has its own personality and when it comes to cartoons and anime.
Yeah, that's exactly how genres in anime work. There are multiple other world stories or isekais in anime, and they all share a typical, this character gets teleported to this world, but you wouldn't call any of them the same.
Right.
It's the same with shonen, they all share a similar battle formula, but you wouldn't call it the same, just like you wouldn't call every action cartoon the same.
Right. Because you would say that Avatar and Teen Titans have very similar beats and story plots and characters, but no one in their right mind would say that they're the same show or they copy one another.
Exactly. It's only because that these shows are new and they've all come out at the same time. Also, Gravity Falls and Star vs. and Owl House both aired on Disney Channel with similar writing staffs. People just sometimes, they don't realize that recycling a basis for a story is not the same as being a copy.
Right.
Like that's what I want to make clear about the Owl House. It is unique, even though it is copying an already existing basis. I mean, is there anything else you think you want to talk about or cover
I think
on?
if you haven't watched Owl House, give it a shot. Give it a watch and see if you like it.
I think keep an eye on it. I think it will grow. It's definitely going to span multiple seasons.
Yeah.
I definitely think as a show right now, it'll at least get Disney's 3-season treatment that most of its shows like Gravity Falls and Star Versus got. It'll at least get 3 seasons of story for sure. And I think that as it goes, it will only get better. So keep an eye on it.
For sure.
And I guess that's about all we had to say. We really wanted to talk about the show and kind of get it out there because we think the show really deserves to be watched.
Yeah, it actually surprised me how much I actually like the show.
Yeah, I've watched it multiple times at this point now, so I really, really like the show.
Yeah.
But I guess that's all. I guess that's about it. Until next time, right?
Well, yeah. Until next time, we're
We're
the final bosses.